Today we are doing lessons 1.4 and 1.5, multiplying and dividing integers. And our I can statement, I can use properties of operations to multiply and divide integers. So we're grouping two lessons today, multiplication and division, together because they're really similar in their relationship to each other, and our rules that we're going to be using are the same. So let's start with just a few activities now. It says work with a partner. You're not, where I'm just going to talk you through it. But it's showing how to use repeated addition to find 3 times 2. So multiplication is repeated addition. 3 times 2 means adding 3 groups of 2. So here we've got, starting in 0, 1 group of 2, 2 groups of 2, 3 groups of 2. So I can write 3 times 2 as being 2 plus 2 plus 2, which equals 6. So 3 times 2 is 6. We looked at very similar things when you first learned multiplication. But let's say now I have 3 times negative 2. That means 3 groups of negative 2. Negative 2, negative 2, negative 2. So I can write 3 times negative 2 as negative 2 plus negative 2 plus negative 2. That's going to be a negative 6. So 3 times negative 2 is going to be negative 6. So if you see here, when I have a positive and a negative and I'm multiplying them together, I'm ending up with an answer that has a negative number or negative sign on it. Let's look at this table to figure out what happens when you have two negatives together. So here it says describe the pattern of the products in the table and then complete the table. So from negative 9 to negative 6, that value is increasing by 3. Negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. So as my second number is getting bigger by 1, my answer is getting bigger by 3. From negative 6 to negative 3, again, that's an addition by 3. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. When I have 0, no matter what it's getting multiplied by, my answer is going to be 0. Negative 3 times 0 is 0. Again, my answer is getting bigger by positive 3. So my numbers here are actually getting smaller by 1. 3, 2, 1, 0. So now I've gotten to negative 1. Negative 3 times negative 1 is going to be a positive 3 because my pattern on the side is also staying the same, adding 3. And then 3 times negative 2, that's going to be a positive 6. Again, as my answer is getting 1 smaller here, or the number I'm multiplying by is getting 1 smaller, my answer is getting 3 times, adding 3 to it. So 3 plus another 3 is 6. So negative 3 times negative 2 is going to be a positive 6. So from this table and the work we've done so far, when we have two numbers with the same sign, negative times negative, our answer is going to be a positive number. We're still multiplying normally, it's just a positive answer. When multiplying numbers with two different signs, like this up here, negative 3 times a positive 2, our answer is going to be negative. Now let's take a quick look at subtraction. Subtraction and multiplication are opposites from each other. So it says use integer counters to find negative 15 divided by 3. So I can do negative 15 divided by 3 by taking my 15 negative counters and splitting them into 3 equal groups. So there's one group. There's 2 groups. And that's 3 groups. So there are 5 negative counters in each group, which means negative 15 divided by 3 is going to be a negative 5. Just like with multiplication, if I have a negative and a positive that are being divided, that's going to give me a negative answer. All right, and here it says rewrite the product 3 times negative 4 equals 12 as a quotient in 2 different ways. What can you conclude? In elementary school, you learned about fact families, taking these 3 numbers, 3, negative 4, negative 12, and rewriting them in different sentences. And those 3 still stay together because they were a fact family. So if we did negative 12 divided by 3, I'm going to get my missing number in my fact family, which is negative 4. And if I flip-flop it here and I do negative 12 and negative 4, my missing number in my fact family is a positive 3. So negative 12 divided by negative 4 is a positive 3. Just like with multiplication, when you're dividing two numbers with the same sign, two negatives, two positives, answer is going to be positive. If you're dividing two numbers with different signs, our answer will be negative. Okay, so here's our key idea with multiplication. Product of two integers with the same sign is positive. Product of two integers with different signs is negative. Same sign positive, different signs negative. All right, so let's try these. 3 times negative 4, different signs, they're going to be negative. So negative 12. 3 times 4 is 12, different signs, answer's negative. All right, 7 times 4, here they use parentheses for multiplication. Here they're using the little dot for multiplication, means the same thing. 7 times 4, that's going to be 28, different signs, answer's negative. Go ahead and pause the video and try these 6 problems. All right, let's go ahead and check our answers. So for this first one, 5 times 5, positive numbers, we're multiplying the same way we always have. 5 times 5 is 25. Number 2, 4 times 11, same sign, positive answers. Again, nothing's changing. 4 times 11 is 44. Here I have same signs, negative 1 times negative 9. 1 times 9 is 9. Same signs, answers positive. Over here, negative 7 times negative 8, same signs, answers positive. So for this one, I'm going to have a positive 56. Here I have negative 10 times positive 6 times 0. So when we have 3 numbers that we're multiplying, we need to pick 2 of them to do at a time. Negative 10 times negative 6 is going to be a positive 60. And then times 0, that's just going to equal 0. And then here, I have everything the same sign, but I can only look at 2 at a time. All right, so I'm actually going to do these 2 first, because I know when I'm multiplying negative 5 and negative 40, I'm going to get a number that ends in 0. It'll make my next step a little easier. So negative 5 times negative 4, same signs, answer is positive. That's going to be a positive 20. And then I'm taking that times a negative 7. So now I have different signs. My answer is going to be negative. If this was 7 times 2, it would be 14. So negative 7 times 20, that's going to give me a negative 140. All right, let's take a look at these problems with exponents. So exponents is another way of writing numbers that are multiplied by themselves. So when I have negative 2 squared, what that means is negative 2 times negative 2. The base, the big number, tells us what number is being multiplied. And the exponent, the little number, tells us how many times. So I'm taking negative 2 times itself 2 times. Negative 2 times negative 2 is a positive 4. However, this next one is a little different. Here you can see the parentheses are around the negative 2. That means negative 2 is the number getting that exponent. However, here there are no parentheses. What that means is negative 1 times the quantity 5 squared. That means I need to find 5 squared first, and then I need to make my answer negative. Okay, whoops, I wrote a squared and my 5 and 5. Let me get rid of that. Okay. All right, so 5 squared is 5 times 5, and then I'm taking that times negative 1. In order of operations, I have to do exponents first before I do multiplication. That negative sign really means times negative 1. All right, so I'm 5 times 5, that's 25, times a negative 1, that's going to be a negative 25. Okay, and then our last one here, I have the quantity, -4 to the third power. That means -4, there are parentheses here, that is going to be the number that's getting multiplied 3 times. -4 times -4 times -4. Okay, so -4 times -4, same sign. Answer is positive. That's going to be a positive 16. But now I have this extra -4. Now I have different signs. So my answer is going to be negative. So my final answer on this one is going to be a -64. So if I have parentheses, so if I have parentheses and an odd exponent, so that's like this last one, odd, I'm going to have a negative answer. If I have an even exponent, like that one, -2 squared, that's going to be a positive answer. And if there are no parentheses, like this middle one, and there's a negative sign, so no parentheses and a negative sign, that's going to give us a negative answer. All right, go ahead and pause the video and try these 3 on your own. Okay, let's check this work, your work. Parentheses here, -3 is the base. It's getting multiplied times itself twice. -3 times -3, that's going to give us a positive 9. For 8 squared, -2 is our base. -2 to the third power. Sorry, that's not squared. So that means I'm multiplying -2 3 times. -2 times -2 times -2. -2 times -2, same signs, answer's positive. That's a positive 4. Positive 4 times -2, different signs, answer's negative. That's going to give us a -8. Even exponent with parentheses, positive answer. Odd exponent with parentheses, negative answer. And here I have no parentheses, but I have a negative. So remember, that means -1 times the quantity, 7 squared. So I have to do 7 squared first. 7 times 7, that's going to be 49. And then I'm going to make that number negative. So -49. All right, let's take a look at our next example here. So the bar graph shows the number of taxis a company has in service. The number of taxis decreases by the same amount each year for 4 years. Find a total change in the number of taxis. Okay, so here it's telling us that this is fewer. That means it's like going down 50, a -50. All right, and then we have 4 years that's happening every time it's going down 50. So our total change, when we're finding this problem, we're doing the 4 years times our value of -50. 50 times 4 would be 200, and it's -200 because we have different signs, -200 taxis. Or if you wanted to, you can use a word to stand in for your sign. So in the original problem, they used the word fewer instead of the negative sign. So I could do the same thing. I could use the word fewer to indicate that it's going down. So I could have written it this way: 200 fewer taxis. It means the same thing. But the label is really important. 200 taxis and 200 fewer taxis means two different things. All right, let's take a look at this next one. So a manatee population decreases by 15 manatees each year for 3 years. Find the total change. Decreases means this is going to be a negative number. So I have negative 15 every year for 3 years. So I'm multiplying times 3. Different signs, answer is going to be negative. So I have negative 45 manatees. If I wanted to write fewer manatees, I could do that too. All right, so when we are dividing, if I have two integers and the sign is positive, if it's the same sign, if I have two numbers with different signs, it's going to be negative. And then up here, I have two things to help us remember with 0. If 0 is the first number and you're dividing by a different number, 0 divided by a different number, that equals 0. It's okay, you can do that. If you have a 0 on the bottom, you can't do it. No, it doesn't work. It's called undefined. We'll talk about that later in the year when we're looking at slope. But it doesn't work. You can't take 5 groups of 5 apples and split them into 0 groups. It just doesn't work. Okay. But it is okay to have 0 first. All right, so let's go ahead and try some of these problems. So 75 divided by negative 25. Different signs, answer is negative. 75 divided by 25 is 3. So my answer here is going to be negative 3. B, negative 54 divided by 6, different signs, answer is going to be negative, and that one's going to be a negative 9. Okay, go ahead and pause the video and try these next set of problems. Okay, let's check our answers. 14 divided by 2, that's going to be 7. Positive answers, positive answer here. Same sign, positive answer. Negative 32 divided by negative 4, same sign, positive answer, that's going to be a positive 8. Number 3, negative 40 divided by negative 8, same sign, answer is positive, positive 5. Number 4, I have 0 divided by negative 6, so 0 divided by negative 6, that's going to be 0. 5, negative 49 divided by 7. Here I have different signs, so my answer is going to be negative. Coming back to this one, 0 can never be negative, even though it's like the signs are different, but 0 really isn't positive or negative. If 0 comes first, 0 is your answer. But here we do have different signs, so I'm going to have a negative answer. It's going to be negative 7. And for our last one, 25 divided by negative 3, again, different signs, answer is negative. That one will also be negative 7. All right, and then our next example is solving an order of operations problem when you have positive and negative numbers. All right, so here it says evaluate 10 minus x squared divided by y when x equals 8 and y equals negative 4. So I'm going to start just by rewriting the problem with my values in there. So 10, oof, that wasn't very neat. Let me try again. All right. So 10, much better, minus my x squared value. X value is 8, so I'm writing 8 in the parentheses, squared, divided by my y value, which is negative 4. Okay, order of operations. So my first order of operation is parentheses. And while I wrote these values with parentheses to kind of show that I dropped in the numbers for the x and for the y, there's nothing to do like add or subtract within the parentheses. So then the next thing I need to go to is my exponents. So I do have an exponent here on the 8. 8 squared is 8 times 8. 8 times 8 is going to be 64. So I'm going to write 64 here. And then I'm going to rewrite the rest of the problem. 10 minus 64 divided by negative 4. Okay, so next step in order of operations, I need to do multiplication and division from left to right. So that would be 64 divided by -4. So 64 divided by -4, that's going to be a -16. And then I'm going to copy down the rest of it. 10 minus my answer of -16. Boom, change to addition. Boom, change the sign. 10 plus 16 gives us 26. All right, so if I wanted to, before I started my problem, I could have done boom, change to addition, boom, change the sign. I could have done that to start. Why isn't this writing? Oof. I still would have ended up with a -64. And then when I divided here, I would have gotten a +16, plus 10 is 26. So you can do your boom booms at the beginning of the problem if you want, or you can wait until you're ready for the subtraction step. Okay, let's go ahead and pause the video and try these two problems. Okay, let's check our answer. A divided by B. A is -18 divided by -6. Same signs, answer is positive. That's going to be a +3. 8 is a little tricky. So A plus 6, A is -18 plus 6 divided by 3. Now here, this fraction bar acts like parentheses. It's a grouping symbol. If I have something that looks like a fraction and I have things to do like add or subtract in half of it, I need to do that first before I do the division, because really that fraction bar means divide. So in this one, the first step is to add -18 plus 6. Different signs, find the difference. 18 minus 6 is 12. It's a -12 because I have more negatives. Then I'm taking that -12 divided by 3. Different signs, the answer is going to be negative. For this one, it's going to be -4. All right, and let's take a look at our last problem here. So it says you measure the height of the tide using the support beams of a pier. Your measurements are shown in the picture. What is the mean hourly change in the height? So mean usually means we're going to add all the numbers up and divide by the number of numbers. Here, we don't have to add the numbers up. We have to figure out how much this would be worth. And then we need to divide by the number of hours. Okay, so for the first thing we're going to do, we need to start by subtracting. So we had 59 inches here. It went down to 8 inches. I need to find the difference between those two. So 59 minus 8, that's going to be 51 inches. Okay, so 51 inches is how much it's going down. And because it's talking about it's going down, and I know it's going down because at 2 p.m. that was earlier in the day than 8 p.m. It's going down 51 inches. So that's actually going to be a negative answer there, -51. And then I'm going to divide by the number of hours. So to get my number of hours, I actually have to do another subtraction problem. 8 p.m. minus 2 p.m. That's going to be 6. Okay, so I'm going down 51 inches, and I'm going down for 6 hours. And I need to know what the mean change is, so I'm going to divide. Now this one isn't one that divides evenly. That's okay, so I'm just going to do my long division off to the side. I do know my answer is going to be negative because I've got different signs here. So I'm going to go ahead and just put the negative up here where my answer is going to go so I don't forget about it. Okay, 6 does not divide evenly into 5, but it does divide evenly into 51. If I did 6 times 8, I get 48. Then I can subtract 51 minus 48 gives me 3. Okay, so now I can do either a mixed number or I can do a decimal. I think for today I'm just going to do a decimal. So I'm going to add a decimal point and a 0, and I'm going to extend my bar here, add a decimal point, bring my 0 down. 6 goes into 35 times. 5 times 6 is 30 exactly. Minus 30 is 0, which means we are done with the problem. We just need to put our labels back in. So our labels were inches per hour. So what is the mean hourly change? Negative 8.5 inches per hour. So on average, it's going down 8.5 inches every hour.